Welcome back to my channel. Today, I want to talk about some of the most commonly found creatures from the folklore of Brittany. Let's take a look at the Korrigans. The Korrigans are a group of female creatures. Their name means something like small dwarf, since Kor means dwarf and ig is a suffix to express that something is small or cute. So they are basically small fairies or dwarf-like creatures. But Korrigan is only one known term for them. They are also known under a lot of different terms, like Osigan, Torigan, Korrigh, and many more. Also, they seem to be closely related to the Cornish Korrigans, whose name basically means gnome. Anyways, Korrigans are small water sprite creatures, around 2 foot tall, and you can mostly find them near wells, springs, and rivers. You could compare them to sirens, for example, for they have a lot of siren-like attributes during the night. During dusk, they are very beautiful, golden-haired maidens, which you can find near the waters of ancient fountains combing their golden hair in the moonlight, and sometimes singing a song like sirens, a beautiful and enchanting melody designed to lure men into their beds and bring them to a watery death. But you won't find them during the day, since during the day they have a whole other appearance, and they hide. For in daylight they have glooming red eyes, skin covered in wrinkles, and white scraggly hair, basically resembling a banshee. Which is kind of fitting, since, like banshees, they seem to share the same root as fairies. It's even rumored that they are descendants of the giant first men of Brittany. However, next to the power of making men fall in love with them, they are also said to be able to shapeshift into animals, to move with lightning speed, to foretell the future, and to be able to cure even incurable diseases. Interestingly enough, these are the exact abilities that were once attributed to the 9 Celtic priestesses of the Ile-de-Seine, on the west coast of France, the Gallicanes. But that is a story for another day. Thanks to the behavior I just explained to you, the Korrigans are often compared with sirens, even though they are not exactly that. But then, why are they called small dwarfs? Well, like I said, they hide during the day. And in that time, they live underground, where they basically guard their treasures. But they do not just hide during the day, they also use those places to hide during the cold winter months. And they just emerge from the depths when the sun starts warming up the surface again. Like with many magical creatures, different regions have different attributes for the same kind of creature. The Korrigans are no exception. Therefore, there are different kinds of Korrigans described in the Breton folklore. For once, there are those Korrigans, sometimes called corals, living in the moors of Brittany, mostly under dolmens and menhirs, or sending stones if you want. There, they guard their treasures underground. Those kind of Korrigans are actually often described as strong, skinny, black-haired and black-eyed men, rather than blonde women, even though they are still only 2 foot tall. Rather than combing their beautiful hair and singing, these kind of Korrigans can be seen dancing at night. They love to play tricks on humans, and to punish stupidity and greed, while occasionally also rewarding intelligence and kindness. What do I mean by punishing greed? Well, they might show you treasures that are not yours to take, and if you try to take them anyway, that could be the last thing you've ever done. By the way, like in many fairy legends, the dances of the Korrigans are said to leave a trace in form of rings of mushrooms. So, if you find a ring of mushrooms near a standing stone, maybe you are closer to the Korrigans than you think. Next to the corals, there are those kinds of Korrigans living near the sea and near harbors. They are just as hostile towards humankind as their more living counterparts. But those Korrigans seem to have power over the weather and to call upon storms to capsize ships. Then again, there are those kind of Korrigans living in the ancient forests of Brittany. This kind of Korrigan is said to function as guardians over the wildlife and to be skilled with the bow. They too are said to have some powers over the weather, which they usually use to disperse of hunters, since they also hate mankind. And then there are those Korrigans known to exchange newborn babies for changelings. I'm actually not quite sure why they would do that, as much as they hate mankind. But, after all, they seem to have the right height. But where does this hatred for mankind come from? Let's take a look back at the history of mankind and Korrigans. Back in ancient times, it's said that the Korrigans and humankind lived peacefully alongside one another. But this changed with the arrival of Christianity. The Korrigans were step by step banished from their ancestral lands and their ancient and sacred places, which, obviously, they didn't take lightly. They felt betrayed by the humans, and slowly grew to be resentful and full of hatred towards humanity, waiting for a chance of revenge, and for a chance to reclaim their sacred grounds. As a result, they hate churches, priests, and the Virgin Mary, for in their eyes, those are the symbols of those who took everything from them. Their hate for the Virgin Mary is actually so big that they tend to kill anyone who disturbs them on a Saturday, the holy day of Mary. Another theory why the Korrigans hate the Church and Christianity so much comes from a different legend. In that legend, they originally were Celtic princesses who refused to leave their pagan gods for Christianity, and therefore were cursed by God. However, it's safe to say that they are not fond of anything connected with Christianity. But how do you avoid their mischievous and malicious behaviors? Well, for once, there's the option to avoid meeting them in the first place. So don't go near standing stones in the middle of the night, or lakes, or old forests. You know what? Best not to go outside at night at all. Just to be sure. Especially not on Samhain or Halloween, since, like many creatures, that is the night when they are more active than normally. But if you can't avoid meeting one chance of getting away is to distract them. If you scatter something in front of them, they will follow a compulsive behavioral pattern and need to tidy it up and count the scattered objects. So a handful of grains or marbles should give you a head start. And you might need that, for if they are unable to lure you in and kill you, you might find yourself being cursed by them, which will also end in your death. So remember, be polite, act intelligent, if you can. Don't be greedy, and if possible, scatter something and run. Good luck. And that's it about the Korrigans from Brittany. Thank you very much for listening. If you like the video, please support my channel and hit the like button. And maybe consider subscribing to be notified when new videos come out. See you next time. Slan slan!